Penn State's an interesting team to rebuild because even though they're consistently good, they've lost 7 straight games to the Buckeyes. They've never made it to the college football playoffs, and it's been almost 40 years since they won a championship. The Big Ten's also a lot more difficult now, and the last time that I used Penn State in this game, Donovan Edwards beat me by a ton of points. The main goal of today's video is to get them a championship, but along the way, I'll be trying to complete these other challenges too. And normally, I don't do this, but I'll be playing in every single game on their schedule every season. With all that in mind, we have to get familiar with this roster. And the first player I want to talk about is Nick Singleton because we need to have over 1,500 rushing yards and he needs some better abilities. I'm hoping he stays around for his senior year, but we also have Katron Allen behind him. And then at quarterback, we have former 5-star recruit Drew Aller, who still has a lot of room to grow. The issue with this roster though is if certain players declare for the draft after this season, if we don't win at all, we're not going to be that good, so we have to have a really good recruiting class and a transfer portal period. Using Penn State though, there should be a lot of 5-stars that we have a chance at landing. And I just wish James Franklin had some good coach abilities. He's a level 37, but he has almost nothing in this recruiter skill tree that's going to help us much. I thought our coordinators would be better too, but they're not that great about where they spend their skill points. And outside of scouting, what I'm going to try to do during this first period is offer players that were in first place on a scholarship because insta-commit is a thing. We didn't get a single one, but it was worth a shot. And one of the weakest spots about this roster is clearly this receiving core, so we're going to look to get some better ones in here. If we can get Jim Tyhard to commit, I think we found our answer because he's 6'5" with 93 speed. And then I found a couple players with 96 and 97 speed, so we're going to be just fine there. In case Drew Aller graduates, quarterback Tresman Christmas could be a good option for us there too. And it took me forever to spend the over 1,000 recruiting hours we have here at Penn State. I'm not used to working with this many, but we're projected to finish 6th in the Big Ten, which does surprise me because I feel like besides playing at USC and against Ohio State, our schedule isn't that difficult. As for recruiting, it seems to have gotten off to an amazing start. We're in first place on a ton of different 5-stars boards, but I don't know if that'll continue if we can't win games like on the road at West Virginia. The last time that I played with this Penn State offense, I couldn't move the ball, and we've gone through the entire first quarter without scoring any points, but we are more efficiently getting it down the field now. We just need somebody to help us punch it in, and on 3rd and goal, we're going to give it to Nick Singleton, who gets the job done. It's not been a pretty offensive game, but if our defense can continue to play this well, we're going to have a really good season, and we didn't stop Garrett Green. His scrambling has been the one thing keeping them in it, so I'm hoping we can get them off the field on this 3rd down, which we do. And it should be no surprise that we haven't thrown the ball that well with Drew Aller, but he is going to help us pick up a 4th and 3. He was supposed to be so good, but for whatever reason, I just don't feel like he is. Because no matter the situation, it seems like we always take 3 downs to try and pick up the 1st, and we didn't here. That makes it 4th and 2 where we've decided to go for it, and once again, we move the chains. But I didn't expect us to get in there, and we could have a good season. I mean, we held West Virginia to just 3 points, and this is exactly how I was hoping that we'd start the year. If anything, we should make the college football playoffs in this first year, and that'll give us a chance to make a run at a championship. Even if it's only an 86 overall, the team seems to be pretty solid, and I'd imagine that this first game at home against Bowling Green's gonna go pretty well. However, due to the rain and an offense that just isn't that consistent, Bowling Green's tied it up with 5 minutes left, and I can't believe we're in this position right now, but I told you, I am not the best at this game. There's gonna be times where I'm making mistakes. Heisman's no joke. Sometimes you just have bad matchups, but we're about to get a huge run here, and that cut from Nick Singleton was crazy. How can I repeat something like that? It almost looked like he got a speed boost. I need to figure out that mechanic, because now we're in a pretty good spot. It's 3rd and 3. They're about to throw it straight to us, so we've gotten the ball back, and all we're trying to do is run out the rest of the clock. The more I run the ball, the more I wonder how we struggled for the first 3 quarters, but at the end of the day, it should be fine because we're about to pick up a win. An injury timeout really hurt us though, because now if we don't get this 3rd and 11, the game is not over, but they decided to run commit anyway, so we're going to have a free touchdown against them. With how bad they are, I'm embarrassed that that was even close, but at least we took care of business there at the end. And one thing I normally take off for rebuilds, but I've left on today, is coach firing. I hope I don't fail, but right now I'm on a 3-year contract where this season's goal is to make the playoff. And we've been focusing a lot on the stuff happening on the field at the moment, but we have to talk about some of these 5-stars that we're getting some bigger leads on, where it's now time to start guessing some of their hard sells. It's really hard to do it though when you see that we've only unlocked 1 or 0 interest for most of them, but at least every single one of our school pitches are good, so when we inevitably do unlock them, we're going to be able to sell these recruits super well. By week 4 or 5, we're starting to get our first 5-star commits, and it wasn't just 1. I'm seeing 2, maybe 3. Oh, this one's the 4-star quarterback. But still, this is really good for a recruiting class. Our current playing style is causing a couple players to want to transfer, but if we can achieve my goal of signing the #1 class and complete that challenge, I'll be perfectly fine. The one issue we might run into though is I haven't been able to schedule schedule visits for some of these prospects, so that's what I'm going to do this week with the new hours that just became available. There are some prospects like the number 2 player in the country, gym defensive tackle Colin Pitts, that I'm going to have to start guessing hard sells on, though. We still don't have more than one of his interest unlocked, and we'll see whether or not that works out after this game against Kent State. At the moment, things seem to be going pretty well. We still haven't lost. We're about to have an easy matchup, but there's still a long way to go. And how does Georgia Tech have 2 of the 5 Heisman watch list players? I was not expecting that, especially since we have to get on there to complete one of our challenges. But at least for now, we don't have to have a Heisman winner yet, and let's take a look at how many fans have come out for Kent State. These Nittany Lions fans are loyal, and I've struggled a lot less with Kent State than I did last week against Bowling Green, so that's how we're about to end this third quarter, hopefully taking a 27-0 lead as we tried to fight our way in. Nick Singleton should still get his, it just has to come in the fourth quarter, and we seem to be pretty ready for Big Ten Conference play. I'm more excited for next year though, because Ty Hurd committed the 5-star that's 6'5" with 93 speed, and I think we're about to see more of these this week as well. I can't believe how many commits we've already landed. We even got both of the other wide receivers that I really wanted, and at the moment I legitimately believe that I'm going to be able to get over 10 5-stars in this first class at Penn State, which is absurd. I've never recruited with a school this good before, but we might as well go after players like Kurt Stein as well. And even if he's a bust, signing another 5-star would be really helpful for this class. We have some players on a visit for this Illinois game too, so this is one that we really can't lose. And let's just say we're having a little bit of trouble pulling away so far. With 2 minutes left in the first half, we're only up by 1 until this touchdown, and I'm just hoping to end the second quarter super strong. We all know our defense isn't really the issue as we've continued to get stops, but if our offense didn't start going off later in the second half, this would have been a lot closer than it ended up being. I feel like I've finally gotten us into a rhythm though, because 42 points is a lot for Penn State, but it did come at the cost of our defense giving up more points as well. For the first time, we had someone that's not a running back win player of the game, and after that, the 5-stars that visited should commit. We got a couple more while also getting locked out of one, and just looking at this board, the other player I'm afraid we might lose is Colin Pitts because NC State is gaining on us. As long as we beat UCLA during his visit though, we should be fine. And they're 2-2 so far, so it's not like they're a great team. We can't seem to avoid the rain though. You're gonna see in a second that it is coming down a little bit, and that means our offense has gone back to pounding it on the ground as much as we can. I even found a play for Drew Aller to get a little bit involved as he's gonna keep this one, and when we do go to the air, we are not beating their man-to-man coverage. That's the big weakness of this team and the reason I wanted to get better wide receivers in here. But at least for now, with the opponents that we're playing, we should be fine to win another game. Once we get off to a good start, we do a really good job of maintaining our lead, but just looking at the current Big Ten standings, there's still a ton of teams that are undefeated in conference play. Well, at least all the 5-star commits don't seem to be slowing down because we've just landed 3 more, and the only player that still wants to transfer is like a 4th-string quarterback. Even if we did get locked out of this 5-star as well, I think things are setting up nicely because we got the number 2 player in the country to commit, and now we just have to focus on landing these 3 5-stars as well. As far as I'm concerned, we should finish with the number 1 class. I mean, we already have 9 5-stars. And once we eventually sign some of these other 4-stars at the bottom of our board, I'm just going to be done with recruiting because I need to save some spots for the transfer portal. There's just certain players I can't pass up though, like James Crocker, a cornerback that's a gym with 99 speed, and then right above him there's another gym with 97 speed. So I'd honestly rather have some of those players start than the guys we have on our roster right now. And I'm just hoping we don't pick up our first loss on the road at number 16 USC. I didn't think they were going to be that good this season without Caleb Williams, but they've clearly had a good start to the season. And playing at the Coliseum's no joke. Drew Aller's struggling on the road to see some of his reads, but we're going to take this drag underneath and I guess settle for 3. Never mind, we're going for it. There's no way we were going to settle for 3 there. We're going to use the RPO to pick up the first. And I wish I could say that's going to lead to a touchdown, but we're going to have to get around to this outer edge, which we were able to do. This is the start that Penn State needed on the road. But USC's not going away. They're about to score the next 14 points unless we can get a sack. And that means from here, we should be able to hold them to just a field goal, but they could still get in. I mean, our offense is so hit or miss. I'm not happy with the fact that it's going to be close to end this first half, but that's just the way it is. And we'll have to play a lot better in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Well, with 4 minutes left, we are down by 3 points, and we've also run Nick Singleton about as much as he can handle. So we're going to have to throw the ball on this 3rd and 12, and I think we're going to have that open, but it was thrown behind the receiver, and that's a bad pass. Turnovers like that might cost us the entire game, and that's why I'm never fully confident in Drew Aller. On 3rd and 6, they're also about to pick it up on the ground, except they had a bad angle. So we have been given one more chance, and we're going to have to take advantage of it. 4th and 1 makes me a little bit nervous, and they're definitely sending the crib, so we had to get it out quickly, but we drop it. And if they pick up this 3rd and 4, the game's over, but they drop it too. We've been given a lot of chances in this one, and they're going to hit the field goal. goal. But a touchdown wins it for Penn State, so it is time for Drew Aller to lock in, step up, and make some good throws. We're in hurry up mode, so we're probably just going to run that same play back, but it's open over the middle. And now everything is shaking. I'm not entirely sure what's out there on the field, but we have a slant. We'll have that too. We're just going to keep on looking over at that left side. I'll go back to him for the entire drive. And 20 seconds left on the clock now, but we're going to have to check this down to Nick Singleton, who should just get out of bounds. The game is on the line, and we can't afford to make any mistakes in this situation. But I did just notice that we still have one timeout remaining, so there is a little bit of room for error. It's not going to matter as we make the catch, taking a lead on USC, at least after we hit this extra point, which we're not going to miss. That's how you stay undefeated. We never gave up on this game, and I feel like this is going so much better than I expected it to. We could win it all this season. There might not even be a reason to have a season number 2, but we also have to complete all these challenges, including beating number 1 Ohio State. They're coming up pretty shortly on the schedule. Washington's also ranked, and so is Maryland. So if things go downhill from here, we might still miss the playoffs, and we have nobody in the Heisman running at the moment, which makes me disappointed. I thought Nick Singleton was having a really good season. He's on pace to hit 1,500 yards, and that level of efficiency has landed us another 5-star. Even if he's a bust, we're on pace to sign one more too, which means this class would finish with 12 5-stars. And Kurt Stein's not going to hurt us at wide receiver. He comes in with 97 jumping, even if he's not the fastest. Now we're going on the road to Wisconsin, and they're 4-3, but being an 85 overall team, there's a decent chance that they could beat us. I went into this game expecting it to be close, and it is with just a couple of minutes left. So we have to close it out with a win, or else we're going to be in trouble, and they better not catch that. We're going to get the interception out of the deflection, actually. That's huge. If we could return this back for a pick 6, it'd be over. But they stopped us short, so we're going to have to pick up one first down against them. And I think we'd go for it on 4th down, even if we're a little bit short. But Nick Singleton has a lane, and he is about to be gone to the crib. I wanted to pull a Miami, but we'll be safe. We'll take a knee. And that's another game that we've closed out in the final seconds. It doesn't make me feel very good about this one against Ohio State, though, because they are still the number 1 team. And this game of the week's going to be pretty tough. Of course, it is deserving of the whiteout crowd, and I can also see some snow on the ground. This is early in the season for there to already be snow, but that's going to make this game even cooler, and I don't mean that literally. But before we continue this Penn State rebuild, I've partnered with Geology to bring you this sponsored video. I always wanted a skincare routine, but I didn't know where to start, and I tried to look into it myself, but I got overwhelmed by so many different options. So discovering Geology was the easiest solution for me. I went over to their website and filled out a questionnaire to get a personalized skincare routine, and the one that they assigned me to was Regimen 7. Geology's a 35-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company, and for the past 6 months in the morning, I've been using the Everyday Face Wash and then an SPF called Tone Control Morning Cream as well. Before bed, I make sure to clean my face again with the Everyday Face Wash and then rub the night cream all over my face. The last step is something that I was a bit self-conscious of, dark circles under my eyes, and this eye cream that I also put on at night has seemed to help with that. Ever since I started using Geology, I've been more confident, I've been happy with how my skin's looked, and it also simplified the skincare process for me. If you scan the QR code, head to the first link in the description or use promo code Bordeaux 100, you'll get 100% off your first personalized skincare trial set and then up to 50% off of additional add-ons. Committing to better skin does not have to be difficult, and now it's time to resume this Penn State rebuild. We're going to find ourselves down at the end of the first quarter, 14-0 already, which doesn't make me feel too confident, but we could get points here. And we've just been working our way down the field where Drew Aller keeps it with the read option. I really don't like throwing the ball, but that's what we had to do on this 3rd down. And the fact that we placed that one above the defense is super impressive, but we're not going to get in. I think Ohio State's going to be the team that takes us down, because even when we do hold them, we have not had an answer for their offense, and they keep on getting open. My hope is on this 3rd and 6, they don't get a touchdown out of this drive. That would be incredible, but they're about to pick it up. And here we go. We could get them off the field on 4th and inches. I'm hoping that they hand it off, but I got stuck. That'd lead to a touchdown, and from there, the rest of the first half just went downhill. I'm hoping to end it off with a touchdown of our own, which we do, but we literally just can't stop them, and that's been the biggest issue. They've been chewing a bit of clock in the 3rd quarter too, so even if we do get a sack here, I think we figured out things defensively a bit too late. We're stuck going for it on 4th down for the rest of the game, and it looks like we're going to pick it up, but it's taken us so long to march down the field, and on 4th and 1, again, Nick Singleton comes up clutch. I just don't see us coming back with this little time left unless Drew Aller's able to fight his way in, and we have to get them off the field on this 3rd and 14, which we're going to do. Ever since then, we have been driving down the field, so there is a little bit of hope for the Nittany Lions, which is why I've made sure to save all 3 of our timeouts, and I feel like it's just super hard to see things in the snow. I can't really tell where their defenders are at. I'm going to throw this curl route either way. And here we go. 3rd and 10 now, man-to-man coverage. We're eventually going to have that open over the middle, but we still need a bit more, and and that throw was so delayed. What took him so long to get it out? I mean, yes, that should have been an interception, and we're going to give up a touchdown, but that should have been a bullet pass. Oh well, we have lost to the Ohio State. That's not going to knock off a challenge, and at some point in this rebuild, we're going to have to take them down. I can't be too upset though. It's just one game, and it's only going to drop us down to number 6 in the country. But somehow our next opponent, Washington's sitting at number 4. I thought they were also supposed to have a down year. The Big Ten just looks really good, and for the future, I'm very glad that we're beating everybody out in recruiting by a ton because we're going to need it. If anything, I would love if this game wasn't as close as our last few, but that just doesn't happen. Not for this team. It's a 5-point game with 2 minutes left. Now, part of the issue is probably my tackling, but I just got switch-sticked onto somebody I didn't want to be on, and I don't know if we're coming up with another clutch defensive stop the same way we did against USC. After that loss to Ohio State, it would have been so nice to just have an easy win. But no, instead we've had to really work for it, and on 3rd and 16, we might be able to get another sack. It's over. There's actually no way that they would pick this up on 4th down. And just like always, we're 1 first away from our win. This is exactly what we needed. We're going to let Nick Singleton try to go to work. And even if we don't pick this up, there's going to be almost no time left in the game. I'm actually all for punting here and making them work with the little time that they're going to be left remaining with. And I knew that had to be a good punt whenever we got it out like that. There's no way they're going to do anything. We could even try to get a safety to end this game. I'm going for it, but their quarterback had a lot more time than I would have liked, and that's it. Penn State picks up another win, this time over a top 5 team, and that made 5 different 4-stars want to commit. We're literally on pace to land every player that we want. The only one we're probably going to come up short on is this guy against Ohio State, but of the 4 corners we went after, he's by far the worst. We just need to make sure that we end this season strong, and we all know teams like Purdue can upset the Buckeyes, but I hope they're not able to upset us. Well, this has been a Hudson Card masterclass of a 1st and 2nd quarter. This is ridiculous, and I don't want to talk about it. The Purdue offense literally just came out and was unstoppable. It would be a miracle to hold them to just a field goal to end this first half, and he's going to step up and throw it away, but I simply just haven't been able to keep up offensively. I'd like to think that there's still a slight chance we come back, but with a minute left, still down by 17, I know it's not possible. They generated pressure so quick. I don't know how they kept getting in like that, but we just picked up our 2nd loss of the season, and that's not good. We've pretty much lost any chance at making the Big Ten championship, and if we lose one more game, we're not going to be in the college football playoffs. Before then, we have a road game at our rivals Minnesota, and then we play number 21 Maryland, so these are not gimmies. And it just became very real that we might have choked this season away. Am I surprised? Not really. I mean, we should have known I was going to have something like that happen. But now we have to make sure that we don't lose to Minnesota in the snow, and we've slowed things down. We're going to run the ball as much as we can against them. I feel like we've done a pretty good job, but we have to pick up this 3rd down and 3, and the check down is not going to get us enough. It's time to bring the jet touch pass back for the first time in weeks, and it is going to work on 4th and 1. We got the blocks that we needed. So we still have full control of this game, but we also have to make sure that we get into the end zone on this drive. It all comes down to this 3rd down, and I'm going to do my best to thread the needle here if I need to, which we do. I wish there were some celebrations where we could celebrate in the snow. That'd be pretty fun, but that'll do, and we've played this entire game the same way that we ended that first half. In fact, the Gophers would only score 3 points against our defense, and there's so many rivalries in the Big Ten. I didn't even know this was one. Drew Aller even won player of the game, which is something you don't normally see, and I think it's safe to say that this matchup right here is for a spot in the college football playoffs. They might only be an 81 overall team, but I'm confident that they're going to play us pretty well, because overall in this game doesn't seem to matter too much. I still can't tell if it's going to be close or not because it's only the start of the 2nd quarter, but we might be able to get another touchdown. And I really want this RPO to work, but they boxed the slant and even got a pick out of it. There was a flag on the play, but it was on us, so they're just going to get the ball. And in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to matter against a team like Maryland, but that's how you lose games. Assuming we hold on to this early lead, we're going to have to play a little bit better in the playoffs. And I'm starting to like Drew Aller a little bit more. I didn't enjoy using this Penn State offense whenever I played Donovan Edwards a couple of months ago, but at least it was able to get us 10 wins in this first year. We would lose one more 4-star in recruiting though, so that means going into the transfer portal, we're just going to have 25 players signed. And that should still be more than enough to sign the number 1 class, just looking at our lead on number 2 Georgia at the moment. But it worries me a little bit because as you can see, we're not going to have a rusher over 1,500 yards unless we have multiple playoff games. And that means in this first season, the only challenge we'll probably complete is signing the number 1 class. Our passing game is something I don't even want to talk about. Drew Aller's stats don't look good, so neither do our receivers, and I'm surprised at the ones we were able to get to come here. What I honestly might do is just fire our offensive coordinator and get a new one in here. So that's what's been done, and our defensive coordinator's not the best either, which means he's also going to be gone. We fell short of making the Big Ten Conference Championship, and I really wanted to, but maybe we will next season, and Cade Klubnik won the Heisman. I wish I could say that we got a different first round matchup too, but playing Georgia is going to be no joke, and and after that, it would be number 1 Oregon. This bracket did not work in our favor. I'm pretty sure they're a 91 overall. And in order for us to reach those heights, we're going to need some of these players to have elite dev traits, and I'm seeing it on some of the 5 stars, which makes a lot of sense. The biggest elite dev trait that stood out to me, though, was on quarterback Tresman Christmas. I might just start him as a freshman, at least assuming Drew Aller declares for the NFL draft since he is a junior. Before our game against Georgia, we're going to hire some new coordinators too, and there's only been one option that I've liked. Delvin Lynch. He's going to have a motivator that's maxed out, so he's going to be our DC. I mean, there are 3 other schools interested in him, but we're the best one making him an offer, and after we play Georgia, we'll see if he accepts this. Well, for some reason, I forgot that the first round of the college football playoffs is at a home team stadium, and that means we have to play Georgia on the road, even though most of our buttons aren't even showing up. Missed passes like that and bad defense are how we're trailing 14-0 already, but I was hoping we'd pick up this 3rd and 4, and that's what happened here. Nick Singleton also keeps staying up, so he's doing his best, but he can't single-handedly carry us down the field, and we're passing it on 3rd down. I just don't know what any of these buttons really are. We come away with it though. It is very challenging to play on the road, and I feel like we're not going to pick up this 3rd down unless the playmaker can work, but we were past the line of scrimmage when we threw that ball anyway, and this field goal is not a gimme, but it's probably best if we just kick it, and that's down the middle. We have been bailed out though. They hit us, so we're going to have a chance to actually score a touchdown, and I think they know we're handing it off to Nick Singleton, but he's going to cut up and keep on going. He has been powering this offense throughout the entire season. Katron Allen somehow gets in too, and I can't believe how far he was able to juke. None of that matters though if we can't get them off the field defensively and they have a touchdown. So we're doing our best to end this first half the right way, but I'm afraid it's not going to matter. Luckily, once again, penalties are bailing us out. Georgia has no discipline over there because between all the late hits and the DUIs, we're now in this game even more. Come on, we've got to get into the end zone. Just 2 more yards for Nick Singleton to fight for, and we're even going to chew the clock a bit before punching it in. We need to score to start this 3rd quarter though, and I'm not sure if the halfback screen's going to be enough. We've already run it multiple times in this game, but it was, and now on this 3rd down, we're going to have to go up the seam. If we can just punch this 2-point conversion in because we missed an extra point, it's going to be 21 all, and this is the level of performance that we needed, but they're picking up the first. We're just going to have to rely on Carson Beck making a bad read on 3rd down, but it hasn't happened yet, and they decided to run it on 3rd and 7. After kicking a field goal, you'd think we'd have a great shot in this game, but we had 2 runs not work out well for us, so we had to resort to passing the ball, and this is the Drew Aller that we needed all season. He is coming up big time for us, making play after play. I didn't see number 5. That's completely my fault. I don't know how I missed him, and I'm not sure if we're ever going to get the ball back again because of it. We played such a good game to risk not getting them off the field on 3rd down, but we get the interception with Harrison. Here we go. The game is not over yet, but there's definitely a reason that we've run it more than throwing it, and with this much time still left on the clock, I'm not afraid to go back to the option where Nick Singleton has so much green grass in front of him. We could actually win this football game. I don't want to play for overtime. I want to get the win. The option seems to work really well for us, but I'm afraid we're going to score too soon. I mean, they're already moving it down the field pretty quickly, but our defense has gotten another stop, and Georgia's out of this game, assuming we take it back for a pick 6. That is what we needed our defense to do in this one. Kobe King just came up with the biggest play of the day, and because of our defense, we are headed to the quarterfinals. I honestly don't know how Nick Singleton won player of the game. He didn't deserve it, because if I had to give that award to anyone, it's going to either AJ Harris or Kobe King. That was such a great moment. I'm excited to go on to the next round, where we know that we have another tough matchup coming up. There's still a lot of good teams left, but I think it's crazy. Half of them are from the Big Ten, and we never had to play the Ducks during conference play, but now we're going to see how good they actually are. I'm proud to say that Delvin Lynch decided on coming to Penn State. We still need to hire an offensive coordinator though, and I still don't like any of these options, so we're going to continue to wait. Before we play Oregon, I should point out if Nick Singleton rushes for over 140 yards, we'd complete our first challenge. So I'd like to feed him the ball a lot, but it's much more important that we get the win. Well, so far scoring's actually been pretty difficult, so it's safe to say he doesn't have that many yards. But it's also because he's exhausted, so Katron Allen's had to take a lot of snaps. Wear and tear adds up throughout the season. I'm hoping this is the final drive of the first half, and we're just going to keep on running it because that's what works. I really don't enjoy throwing the ball that much, especially against Oregon, because they seem to be sticking with all of our guys, and on third down, we have to make that catch. Nick Singleton hasn't been on the field for a while though, so he might be injured, and I'm just glad that we finished that off with a touchdown. It is kind of ridiculous Oregon's still going to get a field goal to end the half though, because that means we're only going to be up by 4. Since they get ball to start the second, that could come back to bite us, but we might hold them too. And here we go. It is 3rd and 5. I've gone with a Tampa 2 look. I feel like that always does really well inside the red zone, which it does. Now we just need to have a good drive against the Ducks, and they almost read the option like a book, But instead, Nick Singleton is going to use his breakaway speed that I didn't even realize he had for a touchdown. I guess he does have 94, so that does make some sense. But who would have thought that we might actually be headed to the semifinals here in year number 1? Now I just have to keep giving it to Nick Singleton so he can get better rushing stats against the Ducks. And he's literally like 20 yards away from getting it done, but we didn't have him in on 3rd and 1. That's given the Ducks some hope because they'd get a touchdown, but the 2-point conversion they're going to fail on. And now all we have to do is hang on to the ball for the final 4 minutes of this game. But what is that blocking? Katron Allen kind of betrayed Nick Singleton there, and now he's going to get blown up on 3rd and 2. And that's made me want to go for it on 4th and 3 with a play like this, but I should probably be smart and just take a timeout. At least if they get a field goal out of this drive now, it's because they worked for it. And I just hope the computer's not smart enough to try to settle for 3, but they're about to score a touchdown. It won't even matter. I mean, he just broke that tackle like there was nobody even trying to wrap him up. And I'd like to have a good long talk with whoever thought it would be a good idea for Oregon to have Evan Stewart. Now I feel like we need to pass it, but we're going to try running the ball one more time just because it's worked for us well in this game. And the bubble screen on 3rd down always feels like a pretty safe option. When it's set up as an RPO, it works well, and Nick Singleton's at 140 rushing yards. So I think this season we've had a 1,500 yard rusher, but I just threw a pick. That was a pretty rough read. I don't think there's any excuses for it. No way, they're still breaking tackles though. Okay, I thought we were about to get a stop and get the ball back. We literally had him wrapped up right there. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And now I'm afraid that we're never going to see the football again in this game. They're literally just coming out and taking a knee. But maybe the computer's still dumb. They have to kick this and they've given us a chance. It's not great. I never said it was, but at least there's 2 seconds left on the clock. And I don't have a play call for this situation besides just roll out and throw up a prayer to somebody. We're going to have to get a deflection or something. Come on, get lucky. Well, that didn't happen. We've become a 2nd round exit to the Ducks. And you know what? All around, it was a pretty good season. But we 100% blew that game to Dylan Gabriel. The only good that even came out of it was Nick Singleton did have over 1,500 rushing yards. So that means I've completed my first challenge in today's video. We still got a long way to go though, which is why I'm glad I found Ernie Folk. This is the type of tree that I was looking for in an offensive coordinator. So with him choosing us over all the other schools that offered him, we have our answer. I'm hoping he can get us a championship, and I do feel better that we lost to the eventual winners, but I might not feel good about this players leaving screen. I don't know who's declaring for the NFL draft, and it's Nick Singleton. Other than that, we have a quarterback I didn't want transferring and nobody else leaving early, so this is very good news. The persuasion chance is also very high, and he is deciding to stay. With our 2 new coordinators both helping out in the motivator department, our next team should be so much better because we only lost 1 player from the roster that made the NFL. The transfer portal is also super exciting. I'm just going to add the best players I can to our board. And depending how good guys like Cam Robinson are, they could end up starting for us. Now we have run into a slight issue. As you can see, we're only able to put 50 points on most players on our board. We fired one of our coordinators that had a lot of recruiting benefits. So either this class is going to finish number 1 or we're never going to have a number 1 class. I think it should still, but a lot of these battles we're going to lose because we can't put as many points on these players as some of the other schools, so I'm just going to schedule them visits and hope for the best. I don't like the first committed screen being somebody that's a 3-star either, because that means we did lose on some of the 4-stars, and I swung and missed horribly on most of these hard sells. We had no success at all. To make up for that, I'm just going to add a few 3-stars to my board, and if we're still closing out on a couple of transfers, I guess that's a pretty good sign. There's no telling if they'll play for us or not, but at least we have them, and this might be the first time that I have ever been able to fill up an entire recruiting board because as you can see, we have signed 35 targets. Sure enough, that's going to secure the number 1 recruiting class in the country. Nobody else was close. So now going into season number 2, there's just 4 challenges left on the list. With all these new freshmen, I feel like we have some good options going forward, like Tresman Christmas. And it's time for the moment of truth. With the training results, our team overall is up to a 90 overall, and some of these players have now cleared 90, like Drew Aller. I really thought he was going to jump a bit more. I mean, he still has plenty of room to grow in some of these categories. But even the best of seniors don't always max out their stats. I mean, Nick Singleton could have even gotten better than what he already is. So I'm not going to think too much about it, but our roster size is 105 out of 85, so we have to encourage 20 different players to transfer. I'll admit I might have over-recruited a bit too much. And Liam Clifford's probably not going to like this, but with only 86 speed, he's getting off this team immediately. It was a little tricky, but we've settled with this roster that's a 91 overall. And I'm just hoping that the Big Ten's not actually this difficult because, again, we're not supposed to make the conference championship. That's crazy to me to be a preseason top 5 team, but not good enough to get into your conference championship. And looking at our schedule, we have number 1 Ohio State on it on the road. That's going to be super difficult, and number 2 Oregon. So we got the 2 toughest teams. Then when it comes to team needs, we have 22 seniors, so we're going to have a lot of positions that we probably have to replace. But when we can only put 50 points on most of these 5 stars, I'm not sure how many of them we're going to be able to land. It's already not looking too good for us. I mean, there are some that we're going to be in first or second place on. But if I could pick any one player for us to land, it would be middle linebacker Jay Swoop. This kid has 95 speed. He'd be the best user in the country. And I did just realize that I have 30 coach points to spend, but I think it only makes sense to put them into this motivator tab. I'm going to let our offensive line get a boost. They're going to be maxed out at tier 4, and then I'm also going to max out our secondary just because we run a 4-2-5 and there's 5 positions here that are out there on the field. It's not going to change our team overall, at least for now, but I'm hoping it makes a noticeable impact as it is finally time to start season number 2. If there's anything we're going to be able to do, it is pound the rock versus a smaller school. And let's just say, I know that Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are having a great day. I'm even getting them some direct snaps. The defense doesn't know what's coming. And at the end of the day, Nevada could never even get this one close. I would like to end it with one more touchdown though, so we're going to run one final play, the jet touch pass, just to see if we can outrun the rest of their defense, but they're going to knock us out short. And that would have been bad sportsmanship right there, so it's probably best that they did. Nick Singleton had an insane game with over 250 rushing yards, and he got subbed out before a lot of our touchdowns, but I was hoping he'd be in the Heisman running because his stats were better than these 2 running backs. We need to win the Heisman, so we're going to do the same thing against UGF, and they shouldn't be as overpowered now because this is being recorded after the first patch. Literally first play of the game, I'm just going to run the speed option and get it out to Nick Singleton at the last second, because with his breakaway speed, I'm pretty sure we can take this one to the crib. 7-0 right off the rip. I'm really hoping we're able to win the Heisman with a running back, but the only way that's going to be even possible is if we're a little bit careful once we get down to the goal line. We have to make sure Nick Singleton's in to run it in for a touchdown. And our offensive line should not be giving that up right there. We should have one right here, Nick Singleton to the crib. This is just another one of those games where we all knew how it was going to go. And here we go. We just got to punch this in with Nick Singleton. I'm trying so hard to get him as many touchdowns as possible, but the wear and tear could start to pick up. At the end of the day, we'd win this one 55-0, and he almost reached over 200 yards again. That would be just enough to sneak him into the Heisman conversation. This is all I wanted, and it's time that I start to take a closer look at some of these 5 stars to see how many we can realistically get. We're just gonna have to guess on some of these motivations. If we have 2 unlocked, there's a decent chance that we're gonna get it right anyway. Unfortunately though, during a bye week of all weeks, somehow we've randomly gotten a playing style deal breaker on Gabe Keys, who's one of the gyms I wanted to land. We had to take him off our board, but it does give us points to start scheduling visits for other prospects. And I still don't know any of Jay Swoop's 3 motivations, so I'm just gonna sway on some of the ones I'd like him to get. As time goes on though, I'm noticing us falling behind on a lot of prospects, and some of them by a ton, even though we perfectly guessed their 3 motivations. In order to seal some of these prospects, we've had to put together a visit week. It's gonna be week 7 against Temple. And then after we filled up all the spots for that one, the next one's gonna be in week 9 against Indiana. Before that though, we have to get through certain matchups like this one on the road at Iowa, and I don't know how this one's going to go because I'd expect their defense to be pretty good even if they only score 5 points. Well, let's just say I don't know what has happened to Iowa football, but they're struggling, and the fact that we're ending the first quarter up 21-0 is insane. I mean, there's basically 0 chance that they're even able to come back from this. We're hopefully going to get a sack or something, and once again we're just going to march down the field until we inevitably score again. The holding penalties are the only thing that might keep them in it though, because it forces us to throw the ball, and that's where we struggle. As long as they don't get into the end zone here in the 4th quarter though, we're going to be just fine. And here we go, 4th and goal. We'll see if their quarterback has a hot read in him or not, but I'd expect him to take a sack. This has been a nice win. It builds up our confidence even more going into the rest of the year. And my prediction of them scoring 5 points wasn't far off from the 7 that they actually got. I figured that they get a safety or something, but they couldn't even do that. And even though we can't put as many points on recruits, we're still bringing in 5 stars. In fact, we signed 2 of them with that one win, but I just realized the only reason for that is offensive linemen are the only position that we can still put 65 points on. For whatever reason, that's the only thing that James Franklin is tier 3 of in his recruiter skill tree. And I really wish he had that for linebackers because again, getting Jay Swoop would be so cool. I'm not even targeting anybody specific besides him. Our board's just littered with 5 stars. And I'm hoping we can get like 7 or 8 of them. This is what the Big Ten standings look like so far. But if we want to make the conference championship, we're going to have to beat Ohio State on the road. We couldn't do this at home last year, so it's not going to be any easy easier this time around. And we're probably going to have to score on every single drive, but there's just no time. I don't even know what button Nick Singleton is for this halfback screen. Luckily, I guessed right in triangle, but I don't think he's picking up the first. And guess who's marching right down the field trying to score another touchdown against us? Ohio State really is our kryptonite. I think we've lost to them 9 straight times now. And if we don't figure out how to come out on top of this, it's going to be 10, but we've had to throw the ball because they've gotten us in these situations. No matter what we do, I feel like we just can't keep up with the Buckeyes. And this is kind of crazy to go for it on 4th and 18, but I'm not sure what option we had. Playing on the road against them was miserable. We're going to fall to them, and of course, that's going to make it really hard to make the conference championship, so we'll see how all of that unfolds throughout the rest of the year. But more importantly, one of our challenges is to beat Ohio State, and we still haven't. All of a sudden, I don't even feel like a championship contender, so we're going to have to take all that frustration out on in-state rival Temple. This is a visit week, so it could be the difference between 5-stars signing with us or not, and it is so nice to see the routes before the plays again. I really miss that. That's the one thing that makes going on the road so challenging in this game. We're going to try to take this hitch to Nick Singleton, and early on, it's already 14-0 against the Owls. Fortunately for us, Temple would never make this a close game. We'd always have like a 2 to 3 possession lead, and I just want to get one more big run out of Nick Singleton. If he is able to take this one to the crib, that would finalize his stat line, but he's not able to. He's had a pretty good performance. I'm just not sure if it's Heisman level yet, and it's a shame that we're just going to have to settle for 3 because a 3 possession lead at this point would definitely seal it. Temple kept it a little bit closer than I would have liked, and the fact that they held Nick Singleton under 100 rushing yards is pretty impressive. His replacement's been signed, but it's going to take a while for this kid to develop, and I also brought in this quarterback that I think I forgot to show you all the stats of. At the moment, we've signed 5 5-stars, and look at this. He is 92 speed with some good throwing stats too. He would be solid, but we have other options we could also go with in the future, and Jay Swoop did decide on Ohio State. It's not my fault though. You can just see that these other schools are gaining on us every single week, and I was hoping Nick Singleton would still be in the Heisman watch, but he's nowhere to be found. I don't see how though. Through 5 games, he's rushed for almost 800 yards and 9 touchdowns, so I guess we gotta feed him the ball even more against Rutgers. I'm impressed with what the Scarlet Knights have done in recent years. They're not as bad as they used to be, and they even started this game off with a touchdown, making this a very stressful first drive. I feel like we have to go for it on 4th and 1, and eventually our offensive line was gonna hold up, but we still haven't been able to punch it in, and Nick Singleton needs to hit that hole quicker. I think I'm just gonna keep going back to him until we're able to get a touchdown, but the second they bring more guys into the box, that hole isn't there, and I'm surprised that we're gonna be able to get another snap off. Approaching the end of the first half though, they keep scoring, so we could be in a lot of trouble. We have to get some points, and I'm not sure if it's gonna come on the ground or not because we've spent way too much time trying to run the ball. I don't really like the idea of relying on Drew Aller's arm, but we could rely on his legs to truck his way or fumble it away for a first, and that's completely my fault. I just thought he was a little bit stronger. If we didn't force a fumble 2 plays later ourselves, we would have been in a ton of trouble, but instead we're probably about to get it within 7 points. They really don't want us to get in, but I doubt they were expecting the direct snap, and I only run it 1 or 2 times a game, but it's time to pull out the power option, my favorite play where Nick Singleton isn't going to get free. It seems like it results in a touchdown a lot of the time. That is cover 3 though, so now we've gotten it down in a spot where we should be able to make it 21-all. There was a flag on the play, but it was against Rutgers, so we tied it up, and now we just have to get the ball back for one final drive, but they almost completed that. I would say that we got a little bit bailed out, but it seems like we're about to give the ball right back to them, and what a pass from Drew Aller. That's probably one of the best throws I've seen from him throughout this entire rebuild. We're going to keep going too. 3rd down always makes it tough though. We just need our blockers to hold, and now I feel like we should go for it on 4th and 2. I'm confident in this play call. As long as we get Nick Singleton out there into space, we're fine. The plan was always for this to be the final drive of the game, settling with a field goal, and I think I've found my new favorite play in this game. It's so good. Now all we have to do is settle for a field goal. Nick Singleton's got to go down short, and I don't love that we just gave them a chance in this game where we are not going to get the interception. I thought we were right there, and can somebody make a tackle? That was ridiculous. He broke like 4 of them. Now I'm afraid that they're going to get in, but throwing the ball away with 12 seconds left certainly helps, and I don't know where their quarterback's going. I had to focus a lot more on this game than I wanted to, but we should be fine assuming that we just swat this ball down in the final seconds, and we've won at the birthplace of college football. It was also a Heisman level performance from Nick Singleton, which is the reason we got both of these 5-star defensive tackles, but we also just got locked out from 2 different players. I also have to say 36 carries per game is not sustainable, but at least it was enough to get him back into the Heisman running. Just looking at our conference standings, if we're going to make the Big Ten championship, a lot of teams need to lose, and we don't have control over much of that besides playing against Nebraska and number 6 Oregon. At the moment in recruiting, we have 7 5-stars signed. That's a lot, but I'm hoping that we can still get over 10 with these 5 prospects still on our board. Besides that, we'll pick pick up new players in the transfer portal. Now we just have to finish out the rest of the year. And after that scare against Rutgers, we have to be alert for any team that we face. Well, I don't know how this is possible, but we're losing to Indiana, and we've also fumbled. So to end the first half, if we want to tie the game, we have to hit a 59-yard field goal, and I don't think we have enough on that. It hit the bottom post. I don't know how we've gotten to this point with Penn State, but we're going through a midseason slump, and I'm going to be aggressive going forward on 4th and 3, where Drew Aller's going to have to use his legs to get into the end zone. That lit a spark for this team. We're about to score on our next drive as well, but they stopped Nick Singleton short, so we went for it on 4th and 1, where we scored a touchdown. I really don't like how close we've been cutting some of these games, but as long as we can continue to play well defensively, it shouldn't matter, and we're getting the sack. If we can just get into field goal range, we should be able to pretty much seal this one, but I'm relying on Nick Singleton to pick up 5 yards on 3rd and 5, and he's still gonna come close. All we need is the fullback dive to work on 4th and inches, and it does. So once again, we'd end up surviving by the end of the game. But besides Nick Singleton, we're not playing like a championship contender. It looks like at the moment, he's the best chance for Cade Klubnik to not win back-to-back Heismans. And just looking at the current top 25, there's so many Big Ten teams. Eventually, they have to beat up on each other, but at the moment, 7 of the top 11 teams are in our conference. And all we can really do is just continue to win. I'm honestly stunned with how we've played recently, but maybe on the road at Michigan State is our chance to redeem ourselves to win a game by a lot of points. And let me tell you, we have taken that opportunity and completely run with it. At the moment, we're threatening to go up 35-7 against the Spartans, though I might have thrown a pick. And I'm just not worried in the slightest because of how well we have played in this game. I said we needed a big day offensively. That's what we had. And it was never going to get much closer than that. Apparently, we've won the battle for the Land-Grant Trophy, and it wasn't because of Nick Singleton, but Drew Aller instead. Even though Nick Singleton rushed for a lot of yards, he didn't finish off any drives. And in the same week, all 5 of these players committed to a different school than ours. That's very humbling. This class is looking like it's going to be super tiny, but we didn't need that much talent. And I should probably make sure I'm redshirting any freshmen that haven't gotten into a game yet. It's crazy that I worked so hard to get some of these receivers to commit, and only one of them stepped onto the field one time. But that's just how it works out sometimes, and we're about to face off against number 13 Nebraska. At the moment, they're below us in the conference standings, and there's still a chance that we make the Big Ten championship, but if that is going to happen, we're not able to lose any more conference matchups. That's why I wish we could have put away Penn State from the start, but we just haven't gotten that many points. Our defense is going to come away with a huge interception right here, though. And with it being a rain game, we've tried to keep the ball on the ground as often as we can, but Nick Singleton just hasn't had many yards. He's literally at 54 at the moment, so we're going back to our favorite play just to see if even this can get him loose for a bit more. And the only problem with that is eventually they'd stop the run, so now we're stuck on a 3rd and 12 that we're not getting. The game wants us to attempt this 60-yarder, though. It says that we can make it from here, and we'll see if we can. I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit short again, but it was worth the effort anyway. We'd immediately get an interception that was taken back to the 3, so we're going to be just fine. At least assuming that we can hold on in the final 2 minutes, and I feel like we should be able to if we pick up this first down. That was a close call, but it's 4th and inches, so we're going to have to try to get it. Katron Allen is gone to the crib, and this has been one of my favorite celebrations to use recently. If Nebraska doesn't pick up this 4th and 4, it would definitely be over after that, but instead I'm just missing tackles, and he slipped right off of ours right there. That's going to be a touchdown. I give teams too many chances. They're not even going for the onside kick. They want to get a stop on us, and since they still have all 3 of their timeouts left, they very well could. Nick Singleton's also struggling from wear and tear. He's dealing with a lot of damage from earlier games, so we're going to have to get creative with how we try to pick up this 3rd and 6. This would seal it for us, and Ivy is going to be just quick enough to stay in bounds. It was a battle, but we're just going to take a knee right here, and I think that means we've improved to 8-1. We also have 10 skill points to spend, and I want to increase our running back stats since we run the ball so much with them. But another thing I want to check is if Nick Singleton's improved at all throughout the year since he's gotten so many carries, and I can't really tell. His quickness definitely went up. His wear and tear health also looks a lot better after not playing much last game, so I'm hoping that he can end the season strong because we're going to have to beat Oregon. At the moment, they're standing between us and the Big Ten championship, and all we can do is take care of the things that are in our control. I'm not sure if I've played at the Rose Bowl yet on College Football 25. We'll see how it goes. And let's just say there's no reason that Penn State should be scoring this many points. If we just set ourselves up right, we're going to end the half with almost 35. And the only reason that we're not is because we missed an extra point earlier on. We just haven't been stopped yet offensively, and that could continue here in the 3rd quarter. Here on 3rd and 6, surprisingly, the home field advantage is still helping them out quite a bit, and we're not going to reach the marker. But I think we can trust Nick Singleton in open space to pick up the rest of the yards needed here, so we're just going to give it to him as he gets in. That was a last-second handoff, but I wanted him to get credit for the touchdown. And after that, we didn't have to do very much in the second half. Our win was already sealed. We're up to 9 wins on the year. But when it comes to having a Heisman winner, I'm afraid that Nick Singleton's not done enough. These are his stats going into the final 2 games. I think he needs to get even more rushing touchdowns, and we should be able to do that against Northwestern. By now, I'm bored of Penn State's jerseys. I wish they had more options to choose between. And we've run away with scoring so far, but Nick Singleton doesn't have a single touchdown, so I'm hoping that it can come on this play. Then with 1 second left in the half, instead of kicking a field goal, I'm so confident that we're going to win this game I went for a touchdown, so I hope I don't regret that going forward. I don't think I will. Northwestern's just not great at football, and even when they hit Nick Singleton in the backfield, they still can't stop him. If he can finish off this drive too, he's going to be able to get one more touchdown run in the game, but I'm not sure if he's going to make that happen or not. He seems to be pretty tired and he still fights his way in. I have to admit, I'm actually having a really fun time playing with Penn State, running the football, which is something that I don't normally do, and we just have to hope that those stats help out Nick Singleton's Heisman case. I just think as a halfback, it's going to be really difficult to beat out a quarterback in stats, but at the moment, there's a spot in the Big Ten Conference Championship on the line, and if he has a big game in this, I feel like that would be a standout performance. All of this rebuild and season so far really comes down to this moment, and let's just say that the Penn State offense is flying down the field. All we have to do is punch it in from here, and I really wish we had a bubble screen play ready, because now that it's 3rd and goal, I'm not sure an RPO is going to work. And I don't know what took Drew Aller so long to hand off that ball. It's not held us back in this game so far though. We're the only team to get points. And this time around, I have multiple reads on the RPO ready as we're going to get into the end zone. I knew better than to hand it off that time. We're going to do our little dance now, and I'll be even more excited if we could also stop them on this 3rd and 11, but they just made an incredible throw. I mean, we're talking about their quarterback having Tom Brady-like vision. He sees it all, and it puts us in a tough spot because if we don't pick up this 3rd down, they're going to get the ball back before the end of the half. Don't ask me how, but Drew Aller fought so hard for that 1st down. And now that they have guys in motion, we might have a touchdown on this play. They were rotating guys to the other side of the field, and we still couldn't burn them deep. That's pretty much how bad these wide receivers are. We do have something open in the flat, and we're still going to get the 1st. But my expectations will always be low whenever we have to resort to throwing the ball, and Drew Aller's a pretty solid runner. It was something I never expected out of him, but for his size, he's pretty quick, and that ball was so underthrown. At least we got out of bounds because, again, I'd love to end the 1st half with a touchdown where they swat it. I really thought we had them there. Now I'm just going to step up. This seems to be a great strategy to get like 20 yards or maybe even more, and so much for Nick Singleton being our #1 rusher. Not at the moment. Now, there was some clear PI on that play, but the refs overlooked it, so we have to go for it on 4th and inches, and my guess is they're not prepared for a Nick Singleton touchdown. With how focused we were to end that 1st half the right way, you'd assume we'd come out on top. But we've kind of blown it, as with 4 minutes left, we're about to take a sack, and we're in a tie game with the Ducks. I just hope that I have enough time on this 3rd and 25 where that's an amazing throw. But Nick Singleton didn't have his Heisman moment there, so we're going to have to hit this field goal, and I just put enough power. It's definitely been a rough 2nd half, but at least we are still in this game. I was hoping we'd get a pick, and they'd score a touchdown pretty quickly after that, putting a lot of pressure on us. With the defense they're coming out in, you would expect that we'd be able to burn them deep. We'll see what type of blitz they're running, and we do. We have a touchdown on that right side of the field. Come on. Just bring it in. I didn't expect us to score that soon on the Ducks, and it's not working out for us since they've moved down the field super quickly, but that's just how this game is. Offenses are so dominant, and they almost threw us a pick. We should have had a way better reaction to that ball, but now the pressure's really on, and this one was underthrown. This is not the time for Drew Aller to play like a disappointment. We need good passes, and I'm a little worried now that it's 3rd and 10, but we should have enough time to get this halfback screen out, and now Nick Singleton can just go to work in the open field. That spin move was filthy, one dude to beat, but we were not able to beat him, so now we're going to have to pass for more yards. Completing that one in bounds probably wasn't the best of moves, but if we roll out here, we're hopefully going to have enough time to just take it out of bounds ourselves. And I'm trusting Drew Aller so far. He's put together a pretty good drive, but I just hit the wrong button. Thank goodness there was a flag. That was meant to go to the comeback route. I can't believe I mixed it up. But we have been bailed out by the refs, and hitting the wrong button's been happening too often in some of my videos recently. Nick Singleton, open space, one dude to beat now, and it might be best if we keep it on the ground for the rest of this drive. There is a flag on this play, so they're probably going to bring it back for some penalty, and that makes up for the one that they called against the Ducks. Holding's not good, but we're going to run the same play. We have fresh legs in the game with Katron Allen, and this time they've adapted. The computer can do that. We're just going to have to make a good play ourselves. I don't want to force anything, but I used a playmaker, and we actually had a touchdown right there. Now I'm just going to roll out, and we'll see what I take here. I think we're going to have this route to get us down to the 5. This is the final final play of the game. We're either going to win this and go on to the Big Ten championship or lose. I'm not sure if I like this look or not, but we're going to take it anyway. We're going to let Nick Singleton go into the end zone. The fact that I took my time there to celebrate is kind of crazy, but we have come away with a big win. And that was by far the most stressful ending we have had to a game yet. I'm just glad that we came out on top. He deserved player of the game. I hope they give him the Heisman Trophy. But there's one team in this rebuild we still can't beat, and that might be the reason this goes on to a season 3 or 4. Everything is on the line in this next game, winning a Heisman Trophy, winning a Big Ten championship, and also just beating Ohio State. But at least we made it to this point. We're tied with them for first place in the conference. We've even scored more points per game than they have. We're averaging 240 rushing yards per game. That has got to be the highest I've ever had in a video. And I can't believe that half of the playoff bracket's the Big Ten at the moment. In most of my rebuilds so far, this conference has seemed to pass up the SEC as the most difficult one. And anytime we're able to stop the Buckeyes is going to be a pretty big deal because we've struggled to do that in previous games for obvious reasons. When it comes to third downs, I'm just not the best at getting stops. I'm sure somebody's about to get open. And this alone could be a huge moment in this game, especially if they miss the kick, but it's in. Either way, it is Nick Singleton time. This is how he's going to win the Heisman and us a Big Ten championship. But we're still going to have to pass every so often, and our drag is going to be dropped. Now, I could take a field goal, but I trust this offense to pick up the 4th and 5. And then it's right back to the run until we get into the end zone. That's my main strategy for this game, but whenever the Buckeyes score quick, it puts a lot of pressure on us to respond back. And I'm not so sure how well these RPOs work whenever they read the bubble screen. I've been trying to get through as much clock as possible, limiting possessions because I feel like that's how we're going to win. And I'd be correct about that if we could just stop them on this third down, but we didn't. I'm fed up with giving them too much time back there, so I just sent 7 players at them. And they might do the same on this 3rd and 11, but instead they left us an open receiver. We had somebody open, but we missed it, and now they're going to drive down the field. But they actually didn't get points before the half, so we have a lead. We really just have to remain patient and make sure that they don't stop us too quickly. But these 3rd and longs seem to be happening more frequently than I would like, and we had to get that one out as quick as possible. Nick Singleton can't fight for it. I don't know what to do whenever they have a free rush or getting a chance to sack Drew Aller. And we'd be very fortunate if all they got out of this drive was a field goal. This is the best our defense has ever played. And the only bad thing about this game is Nick Singleton hasn't played well enough to win a Heisman Trophy. I don't really care though, because at the moment we're on pace to win a Big Ten conference championship, and he might get a big play right here. I tried to hurt him. I was going for it. I still think the best thing you can do in this game is get your fastest players out in open field. But Ohio State keeps stopping us, making it a 3rd and 12 where there's just one guy to beat over to the marker, and we're going to cut in with Nick Singleton. That was beautiful. We shouldn't have gone out of bounds because we still need 1 first down to win this one. But we keep getting a step closer, and I feel like we can just use this halfback base to get into the end zone. Nick Singleton wants to get his Heisman Trophy. And if they don't pick up this 4th and 5, this entire game's over, but of course we give it up to the Buckeyes. They always get it. Eventually they'd score, but they're going to have to recover an onside kick to win, and I'm very nervous for this. I've seen hands teams drop the ball so many times on this game. Why are we scooping it up with one hand? That's what I'm talking about. They just make the worst decision possible. And I have been trying to give Nick Singleton a few more chances to get more yards against the Buckeyes, but I don't think it's going to happen. Another touchdown would have been nice, but at least we won the Big Ten championship. And it took us 3 attempts to finally beat Ohio State. If that stat line's good enough to win a Heisman Trophy, we've completed 3 challenges in 1 game, and it's time for the moment of truth. Awards are about to start popping up. He won Player of the Year at least, but I haven't seen a Heisman Trophy yet. That's what worries me, and this is the Heisman. Nick Singleton has it. I can't believe we've made it happen. We've already completed 5 of the 6 videos challenges, and Abdul Carter also won Best Defensive Player of the Year. To be completely fair, he should have been gone to the NFL draft. And how many awards are we going to get in this one thing? It was just a couple of players until our punter popped up, and he somehow won the Best Punter Award. I know I was jealous. And then Anthony Ivy won the Best Special Teams Returner. That makes no sense. Those stats weren't anything special. We literally have taken home every award. And finally, those screens ended just so I can start looking at our season stats. Drew Aller did a lot better than last year, and that doesn't mean some of our wide receivers had amazing numbers, but these are also a little bit better too. The main focus though, Nick Singleton, you've already seen that he rushed for almost 2,000 yards. And if we can go deep in the playoffs, we should do that, but we have almost every Big Ten team on our side of the bracket. I can't escape this conference. I just have to hope that Ohio State lost to Washington. I don't want to play the Buckeyes again. And I can't believe what's happening right now, but at least USF upset Texas A&M. That's kind of funny. I guess we're about to face Ohio State for the 2nd week in a row. And we still don't know how the committee will do the 12-team playoff, but I hope they don't let something like that happen in real life. I guess there is a game in between if we didn't have a playoff bye, but you got to separate us out a bit. Don't put 5 of the 6 Big Ten teams on one side of the bracket. It's going to be so much harder to beat them a second time in a row Drew Aller's going to have to fight for the first. And I'll go for this all day. I feel like we have a touchdown if we can just get to that outer side and pick up a couple of blocks. Just 2 players to make miss. He tackled us. But Nick Singleton's already putting in the work, and we're going to keep on pushing it down the field. Whenever Kaytron Allen gets into the game, it's always a lot harder to run the ball, but we're still going to make it a third and manageable. And it's time to bring out the jet touch passes. We no longer have to feed Nick Singleton the ball, but he can make a block. Now we just have to hold Ohio State on 3rd and long, though they went with the halfback screen and they had a bad angle. What's crazy is the rest of this drive might take the entire first half with us. I don't care if we're doing that because I'm not losing to Ohio State. I didn't want to have to play them a second time. I just don't like our odds if it stays close for the entire game. We're going to have to step up. And on 3rd and long, I'm looking for cover 2 over on that right side of the field, but I didn't see it, so Drew Aller's going to get us the first. They should know what's coming here too. A Nick Singleton halfback draw actually looks really scary to stop. And I'm so glad they're not fully broken in this game because they were terrible in the last one. We're literally like half a yard away now. We're about to take a 2-possession lead. And we haven't run away with this game in the 3rd quarter, but we've definitely played pretty well. I think our key to winning a championship is staying super efficient on offense because even when we get to these 4th and 1s, I have no fear that we're going to be able to pick it up. And we're taking as much time as we can with us with every single drive while also getting touchdowns. It's just frustrating to play against. We have another big 4th down coming up, but I'm confident Nick Singleton's going to get it for us. And since they're burning their timeouts, this game feels like it is already over. We might not have gotten in there, but we got very close. This is going to seal it. And Penn State has done it again. We've beaten Ohio State 2 times in a row. We were on like a 10-game losing streak to them. We really needed this. Nick Singleton keeps going off. And we actually just can't stay away from playing Big Ten opponents. If we want a spot in the championship, we're going to have to beat the Trojans. They're an 86 overall though. And I feel like it would be pretty embarrassing if I couldn't win a championship with this Penn State team. There's a lot of seniors on this roster that would have declared for the NFL draft if this was real life, so it's a super stacked one. And luck is literally just on our side at the moment. We're making every single catch possible. That's how with less than a minute left in this first half, we're trying to defend a 2-possession lead. But that didn't work, so now we have to drive down the field and get points of our own, which might not be that difficult. If I can just get enough time in the pocket, I'm pretty comfortable throwing it. And it's so frustrating whenever Drew Aller misses throws that he should hit. At least he's picked up this 3rd down. 17 seconds left now. We just burnt that corner over on the right side of the field. We're gone. And I have to ask, is anybody surprised that USC can't play defense against us? I mean, they would get us to this 4th and 1, but I don't expect them to stop the jet touch pass. It doesn't seem like any team can. And at the end of the day, we weren't going to lose to another Big Ten team. We've come way too far to do that. Even Drew Aller's playing amazing. And it looks like in the national championship, we're going to be playing Clemson. I would be okay with that, but I did remember they have the former Heisman winner on their team, and he's probably not too happy that Nick Singleton stole his Heisman this season. It's going to be a tough battle, but if we can win the championship, we deserve it. And there's that trophy that Penn State hasn't touched in almost 40 years. It is my duty to get it for them now. I feel like we're eventually going to beat that press. We had the outside leverage, and I'll try to play coverage on 1 3rd down, but if we don't get a stop, I'm blitzing. Well, that worked too, so we have a real chance to get off to an insane start against the Tigers. And it's time to see whether or not they've watched film against us. We're running our favorite play of the year where there's just one player to beat. Now I have a fade route out there on the field. I am looking to tear apart Clemson if I can, and this is where things might go downhill. I could have gotten a little bit too confident against them, but a throw on the run could be a huge play. I'm pretty happy with how that first quarter went, but there's still a long way to go in this one, and I don't like that we're trying to pass on 3rd down. I guess we're settling for a field goal. It's a 52-yarder. I've been watching that arrow go back and forth for so long, but that's almost a perfect kick. And if they don't pick up this 3rd and 9, that would be hilarious, as we are not going to hit the ball. Instead, they get it. Now I'm going to try that same defense, but pressing. It worked in the last game. Nope, we're getting routed up instead, and this is how you give up big plays. Clemson's so confident against us in this defense. They're currently in hurry-up mode, and I feel so good about where we're positioned right now because they're not getting a touchdown. Here on the goal line, it's just too difficult to get in whenever you run Tampa 2, and apparently they missed their chip shot field goal, so we are in a great spot, but they're about to make a tackle for a loss. The jet touch pass is not as good as it was before the patch, but we're about to route them up to pick up a first, and that would lead to a touchdown, so this entire 3rd quarter's just been about chewing clock. It's actually been such a boring game too. There's been like no highlight plays. Just running the ball for a few yards a pop, and worst case scenario, we'll try to throw it on 3rd down where I think we're going to pick up another first. Basically, I think we've secured our championship with Penn State. It would be super hard to blow it from this point with Nick Singleton, and that will be especially true if they can't get us off the field on this 4th and 4. They've already had to burn through all 3 of their timeouts, getting us to a 3rd and 15 though, and Drew Aller is going to almost get the first himself. I'm going for it though. I would rather just get the 3 yards and then take a knee to end the rest of the game. There's just one player that had to get missed, and they spotted the ball to Clemson there, but they've done nothing offensively in this game, so I'm not worried. I really don't know how this quarterback won the Heisman and then almost won it this season, but I should probably watch my mouth just in case I didn't get the pick there, and we're going to have to recover an onside kick. This is the type of stuff that I have to avoid. I shouldn't be testing my luck, because if one of our players make a mistake here, all that we worked for would have been over. It's safe to say, though, the Nittany Lions have a national championship, and it's about time they get to celebrate this. I accomplished everything I wanted to with them in just 2 seasons. Nick Singleton was definitely the star of the show, and we're so lucky he didn't declare for the NFL draft. Without him, I definitely wouldn't have completed all 6 of these challenges, and look at how much NFL talent was on this roster, with most of these players having the option to leave the year before, but I'm just glad they didn't. Even though this was a bit different than a traditional rebuild too, I actually really enjoyed playing all the games with a bigger school, so leave in the comments the next school you want to see me do that with.